Good afternoon, 12 and 19 on the page of the radio station. That radio station, WRSN 677, Radio Crime Balls page here. But I want to get serious about me. Too many people don't know about what the life of a parrot, of me. My name is Michael, and I'm an alcoholic. Here's my story on that. Through the years, and I was a kid, you know, my dad, I love my dad, you know, but, you know, he drinks some crazy stuff, you know, and I live with that. My, my grandpa on my mama's side, her dad and I, he was alcoholic, and, you know, I was in that living, this when I was a kid. And, you know, but life went through there and all that. And I remember my first time tasting alcohol. I was thinking it was about 1988, 85, 88, or somewhere in there. I think it was 87. You know, we didn't we didn't have nothing to drink. You know, at the dad, because Dad was in and out. You know, didn't know that. And the only thing we had to drink is a can of Budweiser, and that's what he gave me. So he said, drink that. Drinking Budweiser and trying to eat a bowl of chili. I don't know that for me. I was thinking I was like 10 years old or something like that. You know, eating a bowl of chili trying to drink Budweiser. It was crazy. But that was some problems because, you know, people said, well, you know. But through the years, you know, it was a little bit crazy. My aunt Dorothy was alcoholic, and she was living with us, and that was more crazier than everything and all. My mom, you know, she drinking all that, you know, but she didn't drink like, you know, you know. But through the years, went through there, and I started drinking very heavy, not heavy, but started drinking a big drink, you know, and I was like 17 years old. That's when I started smoking too. Smoking cigarettes and stuff. And then after I turned 21, turned 21, that's when I started drinking heavier. You know, Daddy, I had a little fridge in my little apartment I lived in, but beside my dad. It is like a shed building, all that. It was a small apartment there, you know. And I had this little fridge every time I come home from work or something like that. Uh, Dad had beer in there, and I was drinking hot damn. I don't know anybody remembers that. I don't think that you can buy it no more. I think they call it Fireball now. But you know, I was like drinking every through the years in my 20s, and I went to bars. went to the bars almost every weekend, and do work, bam, you know, stuff like that. But I was in my 20s and stuff like that, you know. And I was thinking, I was like, hell, ain't all right, you know. But that's where the demon comes into there for a while. I tell you, it's like I got dick to do it, and that's what it is. And then after that, I make my first wife. You know, I met her at a place I was working in. And this is in 1995, no, 1996, 97. And I met her in 98. Was like, I went real fast with this situation, you know. Because we got married in 99. And I was drinking. On that New Year's night, I was like drinking a whole bottle of Jim Beam and all that. Everybody was worried about me. I was having the shakes, you know. It was real crazy. And and then I was like getting in trouble and all that. I was on state probation almost for 6 years. I done 3 months, 3 months in the old jail. And to that time, I was thinking I was bulletproof. You know. And then in 2000s roll in and all. I was like, I didn't drink that much there, but I was still drinking. I was drinking 40s, going to bars. I changed bars. I went to a classy bar, you know, back and forth, you know, every weekend sometimes through the years of my marriage. And then it's a little bit crazy and all. But I get into it with my wife. One day we was living, but you know, we was only me and her living together, and I was like went out to get some supper, and we got a pizza, and then I stopped at the liquor store, bought a bottle of Hot Down, and then Miller Ponies. I don't know anybody remembers that. And we was sitting there and all that. Sure enough, I got arrested because I was like buzzing and all that, and freaking people. The era I lived at was crazy, but for some reason I put my stuff into, and I went to jail. Supposed to do 6 months, but I done 3 months. And I dried out for a while in the old jail. And then after that, I got out. I was thinking I can make it, you know, because in my head I was thinking, I don't know. But for some reason, I was back at a bar. It was rough. I didn't drink nothing at the bar. Those people would say, no, he doesn't eat off any of this. I had a beer right there in front of him, somebody drinking in front of him, so you don't need that. But after that, at Swift and then all that, and I started drinking again for a while. I was back and forth drinking and all. And I moved, and that's when everything was weird. Me and my wife, we moved a lot. Where I got arrested at was there for a while when we moved out. We moved into my dad and the war department. That's my dad's wife of that time. And then it's like crazy, you know. And it was drinking, and I had beer in the day's shop building, and then all that. And that's when that's around about that time my dad quit drinking. And he ain't took the job. But he talks about it a whole lot. you know. And then it's like back and forth. We moved in that one neighborhood. We lived in their house. We moved across the road, up the road in their house, nothing. And I was going to their friend's house drinking over there. I got in all that. And for some reason we moved on top of the hill, away from that, but beside my mom and sister that time. And, I was still drinking a little bit. And it was crazy. And then in around about 2004, I moved to Hutta. And my stepdad, he was an alcoholic. And we was still drinking. And, I was like living there and all that. But around, we were there for a while and have crazy parties and stuff. And then after that I started working again. And drinking. But picking up hay, that's a job, but I did it. And, I was sweating. The beer sweat. You drink a lot, and then the next day you take work, that sweat start pouring on you. You smell like Coors Light. That was me, but I was like water it, drink water and all. And then they went through and all the fussing about my drinking and all that. And the more they told me, that more I drank. And I was not listening. It was that demon blocking different stuff in my head, And then, and I quit that job. I quit doing that job, and I got me a job in 2009. I was still drinking a little bit. And I worked for a horse ranch. And that was the longest job I ever had. And then you know, shoot, I started there in Bear Mound. And then that's when I quit drinking. And I was sober for 5 years. 5 years. And in 2017, I think it was 2017 or 2018. That's when I started hanging with my cousin. And I was thinking that everything would be alright. But some reason she said, you want to, well, I was at a birthday party, I was a kid in Callahan, birthday party, and then now that she gave me a Corona, whatever you call them Mexican beers with lemon in it, with salt. And then, and that, but that demon's right back in me. And then as I start sneaking, that's when I was sneaking drinking. So I didn't want nobody to know I was drinking. I was drinking up there and back and forth. And I was buying Tall Boys and stuff. And for some reason I got addicted to Coke 45, and I was drinking all that. And my drinking started back over again. And this time it was rough, real bad. That's when I was thinking I was bulletproof. Know what I'm doing. I was telling myself it's all right. I had one beer now. I had two beers now. I had three beers and all that. And then that's when I had my license. You know, I got my license and I forgot what. I think it was not 2019 or something like that. And the idea is I was going to more bars and then all that and trying out and all. Well, one night I was coming home from a restaurant. I was drinking a little bit. I drink too many times. I eat something. I was freaking out. And I was trying to make it home and all that, and I crashed. That was my first deal, my first accident of drinking. And went in the ditch. And I went too far out to the ditch. So this road was like this way, and this truck was coming by, one of them big trucks, and I was trying to move over, but for some reason I didn't move back over. I know I hit a mailbox and all that, and still keep running and ran in the ditch. I was drunk. But no law didn't get called or nothing like that. People got me out of there. I don't, and then shoot, for I was like, they called my name. They gave me a nickname. The Crash Dummy. On that, that's one of my titles. And then and for a while there, I was like still doing that thing till I was thinking, man, I didn't get my lock on, I was free, I was still drinking all that stupid shit, moving on with different vehicles I drive. And I sat down and got my first car and all that. It's a truck, red truck. I was still doing my thing there. Met this found a big bar there, so I was bar hopping. And I was stick with that, and I made friends there, drinking and drinking and drinking, and this time I went up too high. I went too high on my drink, because I started drinking a 32-ounce draft beer. and I was drinking dark beer, and it's like 9% alcohol. One of them you drink about 4 or 5 in one mug. And then one night I was headed home, and I had stupid crap on me. And I was going back home through Bornell and all that, and for some reason I had a blackout. But I think somebody put something in my beer too, but that's a different story at the time. But it was still stupid. I was still in the wrong, driving, messed up like that. And then I don't know how I didn't get, you know. That's why I'm here today telling you about this. Cause it was a badass deal. All it done is I had to have stitches right there in my elbow and all. I crashed right in the bank. Right into that bank. Didn't know about it. The Barnell officer said I flipped my truck, but I don't remember it. And I went, he had it in, and he crashed in the bank. He was holding my elbow and all that. There was blood coming out and all that. A lot of people got me out, and that scared me for me a little bit. It did. And then, you know, got me thinking, I was sore. That's when I lost my job. And that was in 2003 or 2022. I think, yeah. One of the, and then the thing is I was thinking I was going to hang on and be sober. Because that's what I was thinking. Because that scared me a little bit. But it was like more stress here where I live at now. With more stress there, I know. And I was trying to work it out and all that, but for some reason I sneak off back to the bar. But talking about higher power, I think my higher power was working with me before I said it was my higher power. It is always with me. What it is my higher power showed me a lesson. Because I was thinking was all wham. Well, I was driving a Brewitt. I got me a Brewitt car, a white Brewitt, and I went back to the bar and all that, and bought a drink and all that, and then I left. Showtime. I was only going 35 miles per hour right now, and I slowed down. And they hit a tree in Dalton, and their car messed up. Let's make it uh, 3 cars. And that time, it woke me up because I got arrested for DOI, second DOI. My first DOI was in a truck wreck. They didn't take my license. It was my first DOI charge. I was on probation and I screwed that up. And I got arrested and all. Went to jail. And that's when my higher power started talked to me in that drunk tank. And I was waiting for to go in the back where I can rest. I was mad. It was hard sleeping in the drunk tank with something, a bench like this. But I did, and then the guard said, "You're out here, Michael," and I said, "Who bailed me out?" But I sat and got back home and all that, and then my higher power let me listen to the reasons of my family and all that, and it sucked in. It was rough, but I need to hear it. And I sit there and think and all that, and that's when I decided I am through with alcohol. It was on Tuesday night, and a Tuesday, and I know Barnell had a meeting, and I walked down there when my first meeting. I was early, and then when I got there, I started setting up tables. Went for that meeting for a while there. On that first night, checking it out and see what was going on with it, and all. And then the next meeting I went to, that's when said my name was Michael. I'm Michael, and that's when I got my 24-hour chip. And that's when we start rowing. And I ain't missed a meeting since after that. Well, through the years and all that, I had to move off, but we get to that in a minute. But I still went to AA meetings. But I went to Barnell for a while there, and that's my home club. And then I was on probation and all that for the Dalton there. And then I worked the program, got me a sponsor. And to me, he is a good friend of mine. I mean, really, I didn't know him, Adam, or nothing. And we worked and got close and all that. But I was doing my things and then all that, and my marriage. I was thinking it was good and all that, but it's rocky. And I think half of it was about my drinking too, but it was more stuff than that. But and then I do. And I got my one month. I was still doing good. It was getting rough, but I was still doing it. I was running. That's when I started doing my steps. And another month passed, and I got my 2 months. And your 3 months. Always through the, all the months and all that. And then I got to this one be rough. 1 minute. After I got to when I got to my 11th month, it was like getting tight. This thing right here got hot. I don't know how many times I hold this one. It was like burning hard. You know. So that year, my dad got ill. He was sick, and my marriage was going downhill, and I didn't know about it was going downhill. Going to meetings, trying to keep my way from going to places, but I was but that's when my marriage dropped off. You know, we caught her cheating. Or not yet, but it was, yeah, caught her cheating. And then I lost Dad. I lost Dad and I lost my marriage. What hurt the most is losing my dad. And I wanted to go so bad to a place, what I did in the past, go to a bar, drink, But I sat there and didn't move. Was sitting right there beside my uncle, and I think that was a good place for me. But this chip got warmer and warmer and said, I bet Tim wanted to make a print right there on my hand at that time because I was holding that thing tight. And, it was, this corn right here is, and then I moved off. I had to leave this area for a while and I lived with my brother for a while. And he's an alcoholic. And I was living with him when him drinking and all that. But I was still being strong. I was still going to meetings up there. I went to Trenton meeting, and I went to the meeting in Tennessee. It was crazy. My sponsor followed me too. He went anywhere I went and all that at that time. And then I made it for 1 year sober. 1 year sober at that time. And this right here was a battle with my brother and all. He went meetings with me and all that, but it didn't bother him one bit and all that. But he almost got his 24-hour chip, but he didn't. But I did keep on. I was still moving and all that. And all the pressure up there got crazy. I got me a job, a real good job, and all that. And they put me in a place where everybody was all messed up on something. But I was still there, I was, and all that.